what's wrong with having a disability? Like, you've got a different haircut than me. You got different facial hair than me. We both got different t-shirts on. So another difference is I'm in a wheelchair and you're not, right? Who cares? So what makes me disabled is not medically what's wrong with me. What makes me disabled is the inaccessibility of society.
Dylan Alcott, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, mate.
Mate, it's about time you and I spoke. We've stalked each other on Instagram for years. So to actually get some face-to-face time, although virtual, soon to be over a beer one day, is good.
That's it, man. Unfortunately, we're just talking to pixels through the screen at the moment, but it'll have to do. Now, I've got to get this. I just have to get this off my chest, right? Can you tell us what a Golden Slam is and why it's so significant? Like, let's start there.
Cool. Yeah. So what it is winning every single Grand Slam and the gold medal in the Olympics or Paralympic Games in the same year. So you can win a Grand Slam, which is all 4 Grand Slams in 1 year. But obviously, the opportunity to win the Golden Slam only comes every 4 or 5 years now, because Tokyo was a bit whack because of the pandemic. So it doesn't happen very often. And yeah, I still can't bloody believe that I had the opportunity to not only go and do it this year, but to not choke it up and win every match all year and to get it done was pretty cool.
How many people in tennis have done a Golden Slam before?
So Steffi Graf did it. She is one of the greatest tennis players of all time. She's got a great tennis family. Her husband is Andre Agassi. Imagine those two having a hit. Not bad. And then, so it was only one. And then a women's wheelchair tennis player did it on the same day. So there's 3 total now, and I'm the first ever male to ever do it, which is pretty cool. Across all forms of tennis, wheelchair or able body. So yeah, pretty not a bad list.
It's pretty epic, man. When did you realize that was going to be a possibility? Like, was it something that you'd kind of planned for quite a while?
I used to. So I had the opportunity to win the calendar Grand Slam in 2019. I won all slams up until the US Open, and all I thought about was winning the Grand Slam, right? I was like tweeting about, like, I want to be like Rod Laver, the last male to ever do it. I want to do it. And what did I do? I built it up. I had an expectation to win, and I choked. I got pumped. So after that, I started working with a guy called Ben Crow, who is he's like a mindset god. He's a legend. And I really changed my mindset about, you can have a goal to win, right? But you can't have an expectation to win. The only expectation you can have is to be the best version of you every single time that you compete. And that's not just playing well. That's good sportsmanship, being a good bloke, good preparation, good everything, right? It's not just about winning. And I was like, it actually makes sense, right? So I didn't think about it once at all, the Golden Slam, until I won the French Open. So I'm 2 out of the 4. And then everyone goes, oh, you got the chance to win the Golden Slam. And I was like, what's that? Like, honestly, I hadn't even thought about it. Right. And then after that, every 5 seconds, people ask me, geez, you nervous about the Golden Slam? And it wasn't until I won Wimbledon, and then before Tokyo, I was doing a press conference, and this reporter from Australia said, you've got the weight of a nation on your shoulders. How are you feeling? And I remember literally laughing like you just did. And I went, if I lose, right, I'm pretty sure Australia will survive. I hope my girlfriend will still love me. I'm pretty sure you and I will still be mates. Maybe not. Maybe you'll drop me. But, I think life would go on, right? And it's just a tennis match. I know that might be weird to think, but if I lost, I would have been okay. And that's how I thought about it this year. And that's why I played awesome, because I didn't have that pressure on myself, because, I knew my life would have still been great regardless of if I had won the Golden Slam or not. So, yeah, I didn't really think about it too much. Everyone else did. Everyone else crapped on about it nonstop, but I didn't think about it much at all.
Well, expectations are the thief of joy, right?
And also, when you win and you've got expectations, or when you get that promotion at work, or when you finally get the person that you think you have a crush on to love you, if you get a feeling of relief if you have expectation, not a feeling of joy. You're right. Not a feeling of enjoyment because I finally did that. What's next? Oh, thank God I did that. It's like, no, enjoy the moment, because that moment doesn't happen very often, right? And when I was lucky enough to win it this year, I took a moment in Tokyo and at the US Open and pretty much from the French Open onwards to go, fuck, how good's this? Sorry, am I allowed to swear on this podcast? Well,
Absolutely, mate.
like, I'm like, fuck, how good's this? You know, I'm so lucky, and I sucked it all in, and that meant I enjoyed the experience even more.
You mentioned Ben Crow. You've been working with him for a little while now. How influential has he been on your overall mindset for things like that?
Yeah, I mean, heaps. I work as a corporate, like a keynote speaker. I hate the word motivational speaker, but that's what I am. I just tell my story, and if it motivates you or not, good on you. I don't try to, but a lot of things that I learned that I actually probably was putting into my everyday life, but I wasn't actually putting into my performance mindset was, the importance of a positive perception. It's not the events in life that dictates the life that you live. It's how you perceive those events that determines the path that you take. And one thing that Crowe says, which I love, is it is our decisions and not our conditions that determines the life that you live. Because you and I can go through the same thing, right? You and I we could lose our partner tomorrow. And we could live exactly different lives when that same thing happened about how we view that moment, right? So people look at me and go, like the first thing that when my dad says, I've got to go watch my son at the Paralympics, what do you think the first thing people say to him is? Not anymore, because they might know who I am, but what do you reckon it was?
I reckon they probably said like, I'm so sorry to hear.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry to hear what happened to him. And he goes, what happened to him? He's about to win a gold medal. That's what happened to him. Right? But their bias is that. So, I had this really, positive perception to everything to do with my life. Yet when, and like I'm completely comfortable with my disability. Yeah, when I started performing on the court, I told myself I have to win every tournament to be compared to Ash Barty, because to be recognized or to be accepted when you are disabled, you've got to be exceptional, right? Because if that's the shame story I told myself. But I actually externally wasn't actually felt like that. I only felt that about my career. And then I was like, oh my God, I do that, right? And it's about the stories you tell yourself. And, in every facet of my life, I was comfortable and loving it. But when it came to trying to win tennis tournaments, I felt that pressure to win everything to be compared to an able-bodied person who won one thing. And you know what? I'm worthy just as I am, right? I'm loved just as I am. And it's been powerful, working with him. And not only like reiterating the good things that I've been doing, but also learning some new things along the way. And he's just a fucking good bloke, to be honest. And like he, works with my partner, Chantel. We have beers together. He's got a beautiful family himself. I'm very lucky to work with him, and the resume that he's got. He's worked with some guy called Andre Agassi, Tiger Woods, Dusty Martin, Ash Barty, Steph Gilmore, some washed-up wheelchair tennis player called Dylan Alcott. So it's not a bad list. So yeah, he's a good man.
It's cool, man. I mean, that sort of way and approach to life is super empowering, and unfortunately in the world that we live in, that's not the sort of things that we get programmed with, right? Like we tell ourselves the bullshit stories which keep us down here, instead of being able to experience the most life has to offer.
Correct. Right? Well, I mean, I'll ask you, what do you think your biggest strengths are as a person?
My biggest strengths, for me, it comes back to what you were saying, actually. Everything that happens in life is a gift. And over the past few years, I've certainly worked to really to see that and to remind myself when things that most people may call, that's really fucking hard or challenging or bad luck. I'm just like, like, what's the opportunity here? Like, this is happening for a reason. So just like accept it and be present and, deal with it. Like you said, it's about the choices that you make. It's not what happens to you. It's how you take action from
I like that. Optimism is a good one. But like people be like, to me, what's my biggest strengths? And like, this is why I work with Crowe. Mine are authenticity, vulnerability. And you'd be like, vulnerability? Like, what are you talking about, right? Every manager, like CEO, whatever, they're like, we can't be vulnerable because we lead teams in that. But it's like, no, you relate to people, but also yourself by being vulnerable, right? Asking for help, telling people you love them, whatever it is. And like, I previously would have been like, I'm gritty, I work hard and, all this fucking bullshit, right? And that is true. I am gritty and I work hard. But they're not my biggest strengths. My biggest strength is probably like authenticity, vulnerability, and optimism and being grateful and gratitude, right? And they're like, you would not even think that would be my answers previously, but that's what it is. And it's changing that mindset, you know what I mean? And I think that's a cool way to do it. And it's nice that the more you normalize conversations like that, the more people actually believe it, right? And how much, like, you might be listening, oh, that's bullshit. Like my boss at work's a dickhead and doesn't listen to me, right? And that they might be a dickhead, I agree, but that doesn't make them a good leader, right? Because being a stoic know-it-all isn't actually being a good leader. It's about understanding, but always being authentically you, which I think takes time to learn. And it took me forever because I was embarrassed about my disability forever. So now that I'm comfortable with it, I can authentically be me. And that's when I think my life I started living my life longer.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, there's so much power in being like, yeah, I actually have no fucking idea.
Exactly right. Yeah. And you learn because you get help, right? And help is important, man, for sure.
So just while we're off air, you mentioned something about getting hot when you're in Tokyo. What was your lead up to that? Obviously it was going to be hot over in Tokyo, and how did you kind of prep for that? And I guess in general, how do you just go about prepping for a Grand Slam?
Yeah, I mean, I probably not underestimate, but I don't like crapping on about how hard I work, right? I just work hard, but I work hard, right? So like I train 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, like all year round, you know what I mean? So before you and I spoke, what have I done today? I've done an hour and a half in the gym, like a finisher on the hand, like a strength session, then a finisher on the hand crank, and then I played tennis for 2 hours, and I got in the car and came to here, and now I'm talking to you, So, and then I'm filming for 3 hours this afternoon for my consulting company, GSA. But I like working hard because it keeps me fresh, and you get that routine and stuff. But do you know? I'm going to ask you. Did you know how effing hot it gets in Tokyo? Did you know that?
No, I know how.
It's the hottest place in the world. Where Tokyo is 80th on the list. Yeah. Like I didn't even know, mate. It was 36 degrees and like 80% humidity. It was crazy. Yeah. Like I'm thinking, like it's like Brisbane or Darwin, but worse.
Right.
So like as humid but hotter. I didn't know that existed, and like regulating your heat is so important when you're an athlete, but especially when you have a disability. So some people I play against, if the break of your neck is above. If your spinal breaks above T2, I think that's what regulates your sweat under T2. So if you break above that, you can't regulate your sweat at all, right? As you go down your spinal cord, the regulation of your heat and temperature is different. So, like I could sit in my sauna, my health sauna, which I love, right, all day, and my socks would be dry. I just don't sweat on my feet, right? So if you think about that, if the parts in your body you don't sweat, which is great. I don't get smelly feet, so there's always the pros and cons.
Happy days.
Yeah, but you got to figure out ways to cope. And I think also when you're looking at your opponent, when I'm like in Tokyo, I was 4-3 down in the third set against this young kid called Niels. He's 18. He's like I've been his hero his whole life. He looked up to me. But he's the best guy ever. We've got the best relationship. I'm really good friend. I sent him a signed book for his 15th birthday. But when we're on the court, he wants to rip my head off. He wants to smash me. And I was down 4-3. I thought I was done, right? I remember looking across the other side of the net going, there's no effing way you've done more work than me. There's no way. There's no way you're going to beat me. And that work is not just hitting forehands and backhands. That is, the work that I did trying to get heat acclimatization and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I would train for 4 or 5 hours every day and then sit in my sauna every night. So I would do I started at 20 minutes, thought I was going to die. And then slowly you just get more and more and more and you up the temperature. And I think it was my little secret, thing that I did that no one else did. You know what I mean? And you'd be surprised how much fitter and healthier, one, you feel when you do it, how much it helps your recovery. But most of all, when I went from an air-conditioned room in Tokyo to outside, I started sweating straight away, right? And you don't understand how much better you feel physically when your body regulates your heat, you know what to do, things like that. I underestimated it. I really did. And because I had done that stuff, mate, I've frothed my sauna. I love it. Ask anyone. I will not shut up about it. I tell everyone to get one. And now, even though I'm not going to Tokyo, I just do it anyway because of what my girlfriend will say, Chantel, even just for our mental health, and stuff, we just feel $1 million using it. So, Yeah, I did everything. Mate, I was in a heat chamber. I was in the sauna. I was training my ass off, and it paid the bills because I was lucky enough to get it done, which was good.
Would it be good for? I imagine it'd be good for the Australian Open as well. I mean, it's always pretty bloody hot for the AO as well.
And you'd be surprised how quickly you lose it. Like, I did the Tokyo, and then I did the US Open, and then I did my 4th round of hotel quarantine. Never again, please, ever again. So I've done 8 weeks in the last year.
Wow.
Yeah, mate.
That's insane, man. I've done 2 weeks and I was like, yeah, okay, that's enough for my life.
Yeah, I struggled this one because I went from the biggest high of my life and I'm not complaining because, everyone else, no one could do that, go overseas, people lining up at Centrelink, but I was lucky enough to go around the world and do my job. So, but I'm not going to lie, it sucked. Anyway, I got out, got home, had a sauna. Mate, if you hadn't had a sauna in a while, I was like, oh, I feel like it smacks you bang in the face. So I think that consistency of it as well is really important. So I've started getting back into it, which I'm enjoying. But yeah, for the summer, again, I'll be in there every day, mate. It's the best.
How much extra work do you need to put in? I mean, you're obviously putting in heaps of work that gives you that belief, that you're gonna beat this guy and probably write it on his next Christmas card, even though you're 4-3 down. Like, how much extra work do you need to do compared to, say, a normal tennis player? Like, is it elevated above what their normal workload would be?
No, it's probably this. People probably think it's under, but it's the same. But the big difference is this. Today I did back and biceps, right? I used my arms. I used the hand bike. I used my arms. I played tennis. I used my arms. I got in the car. I used my arms. I had a shower this morning. I had to transfer out of my wheelchair into my shower. I use my arms, right? So that's all you use. So I think where you could split your day between using your legs or your arms or whatever, we don't have that option. And the biggest one as well is I tore my supraspinatus in my shoulder, which is like the muscle in your shoulder, when I was 19, getting my wheelchair out of the car. Had a keyhole, but like a Rico, made 3 months in a sling. I can't use my legs at all. I had to get my girlfriend at the time, what a legend, Chelsea, to shower me, help me in the shower. Had to live in my dad's place for the first month. He had to wash me, dress me, do everything, right? Because I can't do anything without my arms. So it was a real wake-up call for me that even when I retire, I can't just become a fat slob. And not that I want to, but like I just can't. Like I can't afford to. Because if something happens to me and you're not fit and strong, you're done. Right. So, I'm not saying I'm a health freak. Like I enjoy beer and I enjoy, you have to have that balance where you eat a naughty meal sometimes and stuff. But like I don't train to bodybuild. I train to look after myself, put it that way. Like to get stronger, but not stupid strong and get injured. Like just to be really strong, but strong in a way where I always look after my shoulders, my elbows and my wrists. Because if my arms go, I'm cooked.
So what's like besides playing tennis, like how do you actually maintain your upper body? Because you train your arms and then you literally use your arms for every single thing the rest of the day, compared with someone who might go and train legs and then they might be kind of sitting down for a period of time or not continuing to use their legs strenuously. Like how do you kind of manage the recovery of it and all that? Yeah,
recovery, you stole the word. So, I complained to my trainer, I'm using my arms a lot. And he goes, well, fuck off, tough shit. So, but, it's about looking after yourself. But what I used to do is just constantly smash myself. Probably didn't eat enough food because I wanted to look good. Like I trained to look good, not trained to be good. Does that make sense? I think there's a big difference, especially as an athlete. Like the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, Tyson Fury, is like actually a bit fat. Like, right? Yeah. But in a good way, because that's what works for him. Right. And I think we all, even like you watch, I watch heaps of AFL players and they're told just to get massive. Right. And then they do their knee, they do their hamstring, they do their calves, they can't run. Yet when they were coming up, they used to dominate. And I'm like, am I the only one what are they doing? Like train to be good. Don't train because you think you've got to do that. And I used to be one of them. So now as you get older, I really listen to my body, right? If I had a short shoulder, I would just be like, oh, fuck it, I'll just go and do what I want to do. But now I'm like, no, don't be an idiot because your arms are worth your life to you. You know what I mean? So it's about that balance. But man, I do 11 sessions a week. 5 on court, right, for 2 hours, and then 6 is a makeup of maybe 4 gym sessions, 2 fitness sessions. The fitness sessions will be, we push up the hills of the MCG, the MCG car park.
Oh yeah.
We do like 8 efforts from the MCG to the top, like 8 times. Bang, 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 bang. We do sprints on grass because grass, you have greater friction.
Yeah.
We do boxing, we do everything, we do whatever. So, to be the best, you've got to train like the best. So we definitely do a lot of work.
Mm. And how many people in your team do you have? Like how many people are behind Dylan Alcott?
Oh, I mean, like about 1,000 to be honest. But I think you're a part of the team now, because we know each other and you helped me out getting ready for the Tokyo with the sauna and stuff. And I mean that, you heard me say in my press conference how I've been getting ready in the sauna and stuff. And I mean that. And it's not when I win, it's not a me. You might hear me say we, like I just said then we, because it's a big team effort. There's my coach, Francois, my doubles partner, Heath. We train together every day. There's a few guys that play in Melbourne. There's my manager, Mark. There's my day-to-day manager, Georgie, who also runs my foundation. There's my brother. There's my family. There's my partner, Chantel. My dog, Sauce. He's a big part of it, and my mates. It takes an absolute village. I'm serious. And normally there'd be 12 people traveling with me. This year it was me, my coach, Francois, and Heath, my doubles partner. That was it because of COVID. Couldn't get visas. So it was so different. And it made it so much harder, but also not as sweet because they weren't there, but also more sweet because it was so hard. Does that make sense? Look, when you win a tournament, you win the biggest match of your life. Oh, and Brenda, I forgot to mention Brenda, who runs our program at Tennis Australia. At the US Open in Tokyo, it was just Francois, Heath, Brenda, and I. And you look up, you're like, I've just done the best thing I've ever done in my life. And where's my family? But in saying that, because it was just the 4 of us also, it was bittersweet, but also pretty cool because we knew how hard it was. Like my teammates, my competitors, they finished playing in Tokyo. They went home for 2 days. They'd fly back to Amsterdam, go home then go to the US Open. We couldn't go home for 5 months because we had you don't understand how hard that is. We were just rat shit by the end of it. So, but as I say, I'll look back and be good on us because it was bloody hard work to get done.
Absolutely, man. I mean, yeah, just having to quarantine so much to come back into Australia is just a real hindrance. And you start seeing people from around the world flying around, no worries, and it's just
Yeah, it was pretty loose, man. I won in Tokyo, had 20 beers, went to sleep, woke up at 6, went to sleep for 2 hours. 6 a.m. we flew to New York for the US Open. Remember, we got to New York. I made him my Dom Dollar as a big DJ, and I just went on his Insta. He's in New York, man. I went to a 30,000 person festival. I went from locked down in the village to that, and I was I don't think I've ever had a mask glued on my face. So, but I was on stage, I was in the VIP, so I'll say. But it's just so different. But it's pretty cool now. Australia's caught up on the vax, and we're all getting out and about now. You know what I mean? It's crazy, which is cool.
And it does give you some perspective in life as well. I'm up in the sunny coast, and we, can go out and go to gigs and whatever. And we were having a whinge the other day because we were I have to wear a mask when we go to this place. And I was like, hold on, Kristen, my girlfriend, what are we fucking complaining about?
Yeah.
There's people in Melbourne who can't leave their fucking house to go for 5 kilometers. So let's just shut up and enjoy the show, Man,
I'm complaining about I'm so tired flying around the world. And then I was stop being, that's where that gratitude's important because hang on a sec, because it makes you realize and you snap out of it. But yeah, you bastard, man. I'm from Melbourne. So we've had about 272 days lockdown, of which I've only probably done 150. So I'm actually not too bad myself.
Yeah, I feel you. I was down there last year, so I
yeah, you had a taste. I know that.
Yeah, I got a bit of a taste of it. Yeah. So let's back up a bit. So how far, this is a question purely for my own knowledge because I don't know. How far, how far down can you feel? Do you have sensation in your body and then when can you not feel anymore?
Yeah, so I'm an incomplete paraplegic. So got a little bit in my legs and stuff, but if I sat on a burning plate, I probably wouldn't notice very well. But if I got stabbed, I would. You know what I mean? There you go. That's a hard thing. But so I've got enough, a little bit, so I can I think naturally have kids. Hopefully, we'll soon see when we're trying things like that. But I can't walk, can't move, got no abs. Yeah. Got really severe scoliosis. I was born with a tumor wrapped around my spinal cord, so it really damaged my spinal cord across up to about T6 all the way down through my lumbar. So like all the way down. And so no walking, no standing, very minimal balance kind of stuff if I'm not strapped into my wheelchair and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm lucky I got a little bit of feeling when if something goes wrong. It's the human body's amazing. Even if you haven't got feeling, I don't know if you know this, but you'll be like, one of my teammates who's incomplete, got nothing. They'll be like, oh, I feel sick. And you're like, when do I feel sick? And you start vomiting and you're like, fuck, what's going on? Like, and then you start looking around and they're like, oh, I've got a huge cut on my foot. You don't know. But your body tells you. Your body's amazing, man. Like, I've had like cellulitis, which is like this blood infection in your legs, I think it is, blood, I think.
Okay.
And like, bang, man, I'll just start like shaking out of nowhere. And I'm like, fuck, what's going on? Like, what the hell? I was fine 5 minutes ago. And it's the body telling you something's wrong, even in places you don't know. Crazy how well it works.
Yeah, well, especially when you listen to it. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there.
Yeah, and I've got better at that, man. Like I remember I was talking to my old housemate Lucy the other day. She came home and I'm on the couch, like it's like summer, and I've got like ski jacket, beanie, like shaking, sweating.
Right.
And she's like, we're going to hospital. I'm like, man, I'm fine. And I'm glad I went. She's like, the doctor was like, yeah, glad you came in. Probably would have died. I was like, cool, I won't do that again. So in my old age, I've asked to listen to my body.
Wait, why were you so cold?
Yeah, because I had this infection in my legs,
right,
called cellulitis, which goes in your blood. They swell up, but they haven't swelled up yet, so I didn't know. But I was looking, going, what's going on with me? Like, but I was like cruel. And then they have to put you on a drip because if it gets into like your bloodstream and your heart, you're in ultrasound. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so are you still getting circulation in your feet, like blood circulation?
Not great, not amazing. That's the one thing I struggle with.
Yeah.
I wear socks all the time because I don't care because my feet are cold because I don't notice, but my girlfriend, they're like ice blocks, so she doesn't like them when I touch her in bed. So I wear socks. That's the one thing I struggle with. And also like when I travel in a plane, I'm in a seat like you, but you get up and cruise around. So one thing I've learned, I had real problems flying. So I wear medical grade compression socks, which I recommend everybody wear, even if you're not disabled. Everyone, they're the best things ever. They help with your circulation so much. So I wear them when I travel.
Yeah.
And I found even using the sauna and stuff has really helped. You know what I mean? Like trying to regulate that, and I've done some research, which has been cool.
Yeah, I was just going to say, my dad used to wear those compression socks whenever we'd fly internationally. I'm like, Dad, you got to hide those things, man.
The only thing is, you got to wear pants. If you wear shorts, you look like an absolute tool. And I made a rule that I only travel in pants because you look like wannabe. They're like wannabe school socks, but like just crap, and they go really high. You're like a wannabe footy player. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Or like basketball player or something. Yeah. Do you have to like move your legs daily to try and get some sort of circulation happening, or do you just wake up, you're out of bed and you're like, there's my legs, I don't need to do anything?
The two things I worry about is, when I'm on a couch, I elevate them. So like, and the big thing is, one of the most dangerous things for people who can't feel is getting a pressure sore, which is because you sit on your bum all day in your wheelchair and then you sit on the couch or whatever. Like, I had a mate called Ben when I grew up. He's a legend from Indigo, and he got a pressure sore, didn't know, for like 3 months, bro. And then he had to go to hospital for like 9 months.
Oh my God.
It was down to the bone. He had no idea. Like, yeah. So, I got a bit of feeling. So if I got a sore bum, I ask my brother or now my girlfriend or whoever, can you like check? Can you check out? Because if I get a pressure sore, you just got to get off your bum for a week. So what I do is, because I'm in my chair all day, when I get home, I try and put my legs up and get off my bum. Because once you get one, you're cooked. Or if you got a DVT, you're cooked. So you might as well try and stay on top of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Have you ever, like, do you ever get phantom, do you ever feel like you can move your legs, or have you ever like had a dream that you were walking?
Good question. I've never dreamed that I've walked. People that I did like that I love me have, which is funny, but I never have. Because I don't give a shit. Like I got no desire. Actually, people started. You can do those face swap.
Oh yeah.
And you can put your face on like Brad Pitt's and Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah.
People started doing that and sending it to me. I'm like, that looks fucking weird. That weird man. Like, because I've never actually pictured it. And I don't get phantom pain because I've never had enough of feeling to. Like, no, if I get pain, like, because I do feel a bit, I know something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if I twist my ankle getting out of the car and my leg hurts, I go, fuck that, I must twist my ankle pretty badly. I dropped a 15 kilo weight plate on my foot yesterday, but I kind of caught it. So if I dropped it straight, I'm like, I've got to go to hospital. I probably broke my foot, but it really hurt. So I kind of give myself 24 hours where I'm like, if this is still sore tomorrow, I'll go get a check. And it went away. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Or if I start vomiting or whatever. But phantom pain is what you're referring to is from amputees. So if you have a leg, right, and you lose your leg in a whatever car accident or something, and then you got no leg from the knee down, like you wake up and your foot, it feels like getting stabbed in your foot. That's not there, which is a real thing. Because I've got a podcast called Listen Able, where we profile the lives of people living with disability or affected by it. We've had a lot of amputees, and I'm like, it's a really great podcast to educate yourself about disability, but in a really fun, entertaining, light way. Because I'm like, phantom pain, bullshit, not real. Like, prove me otherwise. And they're like, mate, it's real. But I'm like, you haven't got a leg though. Like, you know what I mean? And I couldn't believe it. Some of the stories, it's real. It just comes and goes. So yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, fascinating. Talking to you now, like something that's really standing out for me is the mindset, but also that you don't really know of a life prior to your disability, right? So it's just like, this is just my world, you know, this is my existence. I imagine that's quite different for someone who becomes disabled, you know, once they've already been alive for 20 years. Like, what's kind of the different things going on in people's minds when they go through something like that?
Yeah, it's a great question because people ask me that, and I'm going to ask you, would you rather know what it's like to kick a football, surf, and feel the sand between your toes and lose it, or have no idea like I do?
Sometimes ignorance is bliss, right?
It's all, true, but it's all, again, decisions, not conditions. I got no idea, man. What I will say is this. One positive about being 20 years old and having a car accident or whatever is you might already have a partner, mates, a family around you who can support you through that. One thing I've realized and learned firsthand is kids can be brutal. So being born with a disability and never having that integration into society that you might have already had by playing footy, by having a part-time job, all these things that people with disability find hard because we don't get the opportunities, that makes it tough. If it makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but in saying that, if you having that your life turned upside down is such a big trauma, that might be a negative thing, you know? So again, how long's a piece of string? It's a really hard one to answer. I'm comfortable with my situation, but I know, you know, going to a rehab where everyone's just had an accident is like one of the worst places in the world because it's everyone's, and you know, they're also doing, like, I feel for everyone in there, but because they're also doom and gloom in there, and it's not, you know, it's not the people who's there's fault. But you know, they are getting better, and the people that work there are doing a great job. But I think that, you know, there are, because the reason it's hard is, you know, when I turned on the TV as a kid, the only time I saw myself was in a road safety ad where someone drink drives. What's the next scene? Someone in tears in a wheelchair because their life's over. So if you have a car accident and you end up in a, what do you think your life is? That.
Yeah.
But it's not. But they think that, right? So that is what we have to change, that unconscious bias that we've created in our society, that having a disability is a death sentence, because not. But that only changes with more mainstreaming and more normalization of it, but also, you know, more opportunities for employment, you know, in education, things like that. Because if you cannot be, we can't see. If you see more people out there being normal with a disability, well, then people will realize that their life's not over.
Yeah, it's education, man. I mean, I've had people on the podcast recently talking about trying to educate around like women's cycles, right? And periods. And like, let's have a conversation around that. Let's have a conversation around money and how to grow our wealth, because we're not taught that stuff, you know, and the narrative in our culture is always negative with those things. And it's a similar kind of thing with what you're talking about here.
Exactly,
you know?
right. Yeah.
How do we actually improve education for that sort of thing? And how do we actually change that narrative?
Oh, look, first and foremost, it comes from a lack of like having more opportunities. So the hardest part of my day is not if there's no ramp, it's a lack of expectation of people think you can do. You know, like I've been congratulated when I've ordered a coffee, like only 6 months ago. Someone said it's inspirational to see you here getting your own coffee. Right. And I'm like, what if she's an HR manager, a recruiter, a school teacher, a politician? Bang, how the fuck am I going to get a job if they're the ones hiring, you know, whatever. So that mindset needs to change. But you know, the younger generation, they like, people come up to me, kids, they could not care less I'm in a wheelchair. Like they don't even know, pretty much. Like they just see me as Dylan, tennis player, and their parents are not parents who are like 40, but their parents like 60 plus. I've written them off. The 40s are kind of understanding, but the next gen. But it starts from education in school. Like what you just said is so true. We did this thing at my school called personal development, like once a week, right? We learn about everything, like race, religion. We actually did an episode on money, like a week on money, all these things. Guess how many in year 7 to 12? Guess how many? So once a week from year 7 to 12, how many modules or education was there on disability? Do you reckon?
0 or like 1?
Zero. Right. I had to do the education for my mates. Imagine if you, from prep to 7, in just one day a year, you do something around disability, one class. When a kid goes to school with a disability, they don't have to explain themselves because it's already been done and they're included. But also, the biggest thing is like, so after we finish this today, I've got 3 hours of filming with my consulting company called GSA. So we educate governments and corporates to help them better understand the needs of people with disabilities. We have 50 consultants that work with us, for us together. Guess how many have a disability?
More than 50%?
All 50, 100%.
Love it.
Right? And then the people that work in our head office, like people with lived experience, like my brother, my dad, people that understand, right? And we are showing that people with disability can be great employees. But what the biggest thing is, the reason you should care about disability is not to get the warm, fuzzy feelings, right? There is that corporate social responsibility aspect, but there are 4.5 million Australians with some form of disability, 1 in 5 people, right? 1 in 5 people. And guess what? We got money and we want to spend it. We want to be consumers just like you. We want employment just like you. We want to travel just like you. We want to go out for dinner just like you. So stop not giving a shit about us, because it's an economic decision for you to care about us as well. For you, right? For organizations. And it's changing that narrative, right? Back when we were doing this, people were like, oh, do I really care? Do I need to do that? I don't know much. I'm like, well, you can make sheds load more money. And they're like, money? Ripper. And that's okay, right? But that's a good thing, because we just want to be included like everybody else. But, unemployment for people with disability, more than double people. Of the 4.5 million, only 50% have work. That's not good enough, right? Of the 28 leading economic countries in the world, the OECD countries, Australia, 25 out of 28 of people with disability living in poverty. But we've got great access. Everyone's like, but we've got great access. I'm like, we do. But our understanding, but our biases, our discrimination is quite high. And but it's not about yelling at people to change it. It's about showing them. Yeah. So that's what we do. We work with people to educate them and have that change, which is cool.
No, that's cool, man. And I resonate with what you're saying. You talk to a lot of younger people about these things, or about race, and like, it's almost like they just know equality, and they just understand. You don't have to explain like why that person shouldn't be segregated or whatever. They just get it. You know what I mean? Which is
like even just cool things like there's a scarecrow competition near where I live in this town. I live in that woke part of Melbourne, and this little girl made a scarecrow of me. She's like 6, and it's got like wheels, like full wheelchair, and like she doesn't even realize I'm in a wheelchair. She's like, oh, that's just Dylan Alcott. It's just cool, like a 6-year-old, like, you know what I mean? And that's what it's about. And they have no idea. But we learned that off the generation before, to discriminate, to have biases. But hopefully our generation, because we're the same age, we're not going to pass it on to our kids, so then it'll just go away. You know what I mean? And that's the dream. I know it's a bit blue sky, but I think it's not far from happening, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I think part of it is like, is there even a challenge with the label of disability? Like, it implies that there's something missing.
Well, it's an interesting question, and I'm going to give you a little learnings here.
Please.
You say people go, yeah, but disabilities are, because you straight away go, disability is a bad thing, right? You're like, because it seems a bit lesser than, but that's only because you've been told disability is a bad thing. So that we as people think it's a bad thing. What's wrong with having a disability? Like, you've got a different haircut than me, you got different facial hair than me, we both got different t-shirts on. So another difference is I'm in a wheelchair and you're not, right? Who cares? So what makes me disabled is not medically what's wrong with me. What makes me disabled is the inaccessibility of society, right? Because if we went to the same restaurant and it was all ramped and I could go to the toilet and everything, I'm not disabled in there, right? You and I are the same. But if we go somewhere else where I can't access what you can, that's what's part of my disability. So, but it brings up a really interesting point, because when I go down the street, I'll use kids again. The other day, I was like, a little kid went, "Oh my God, what's wrong with him?" Right? And what do you reckon the parents did? Bang, smacked them. "Don't you dare. Don't say that. I'm so sorry. Don't you say that." I said, they're allowed to ask questions, right? But if you tell your kids that I'm like a zombie, like treat them like that, they're going to be scared of me forever, and they're going to think it's different. And another thing is, I met a little girl the other day. She had cerebral palsy. She was in a wheelchair. I think her name was Caitlin. I was like, "Hey, Caitlin." And I was like, like, "You're in a wheelchair. I'm in a wheelchair too. What's your disability, Caitlin?" Mum goes, "She's not disabled. Hasn't got a disability." And I was like, but she does." "No, she doesn't. We tell her she doesn't." I go, "But you should tell her she does, and tell her having a disability is an awesome thing. It's a beautiful thing, right? We can't add to that unconscious bias that it's a negative thing." So when people say to me, it's really funny, they're like, "We've got the differently abled tennis player." I go, "Disabled. Just fucking say it," right? Because it's what it is. And I think if you own that, it's more of a better thing, which is a really interesting channel. I'm glad you asked that question. Good question, bro.
How are you kind of changing the scene? And tell me a bit about what you're doing with Ability Fest, because I think that's something really epic.
Yeah, so I've got a non-for-profit. We've got a non-profit called the Dylan Alcott Foundation, where we help young Australians with disability achieve their dreams through university scholarships, startups, so they can start their own businesses, mobility aids to go to the Paralympics, whatever it is. And it's awesome, but you need money. So our big fundraiser is an all-inclusive music festival, where it's just like Beyond the Valley, Splendor in the Grass. We just have some added accessibility features, so people with disability can come with their able-bodied mates, and it's the best day, bro. Like, we have pathways, platforms, Auslan interpreters on stage, signing every single lyric spoken, a sensory chill area for people with sensory disabilities like autism, if they need to go chill out for a little bit, everything. And yeah, we've raised over, I think, well over $500,000 the first two. And yeah, mate, it's just awesome. It's one of my favorite days of the year, but also trying to show other events, you can do this. You just got to ask the questions you need, and it's not as hard as you think.
That's epic, man. Are you going to be there crowd surfing a bit?
Yeah, I'll be off my head. So come find me and buy me a beer. No doubt.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully we'll be sharing a beer sometime soon.
Sure we will.
I think we should wrap it up there. I know you got a few more things to get onto. You're a pretty busy man. I'm very grateful for your time so far as well. Was there anything else that you wanted to share with you?
No, man, I'm a fan too. I love the podcast. So, mate, thanks for having me on, brother, and keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, anybody that has any questions or wants to reach out, just hit me up on my socials. I try and get back to everyone. And I'm not very good at it. It took you a couple of cracks getting back to me, but then I got there. So, but mate, no, I love it. And yeah, thanks for the support that you've given me, to be honest. And I appreciate it. And the reason I was such a hot mess in Tokyo was because I actually used our sauna together, which is good. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, man. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, and looking forward to all the opportunities to come.
Thank you, my man. See you soon.
Cheers, dude. That was awesome.
Good on you, brother. Good job.
Thank you so much.
You're a pro. How old are you?
I'm 28.
You're young, like me. I'm just turned 30. So
yeah, right. Actually, I had a question. When did you do your first Oz Open?
2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Because I was a ball boy. I was 16. So what's that? 12 years ago.
I would have been 18. Was it like but it wasn't like the Oz Open, was it? It was like a separate event? No, that would have been Oz Open. I wasn't there because I was playing basketball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I honestly couldn't remember. I was like, fuck, did I ball boy him? I just can't remember. Anyway, I think it was probably before your time.
Do you play tennis?
Yeah, I play a bit. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. I meant to say before you're talking about disabilities that if I was in a wheelchair on the tennis court playing you, I think you would make me feel very disabled.
All right, I'll fucking smash you. I bet.
Yeah, you would smash me.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Cool, man. Appreciate your time. Talk soon. Ciao.